We're here today to talk about financial innovation, but with a twist. For years we've seen financial innovation rightly as the thing that caused the crisis of 2008-2009, but today we're looking at how different sorts of financial innovation can actually be a force for good in the world and how we can make the most of them.
I'm Andrew Palmer, I'm the Business Affairs Editor at the Economist magazine, and today I'm here to talk about my new book, which is called Smart Money, which is about how finance, as well as being a force for bad, is also a force for good. In 2005, some researchers at Yale University decided they would train some monkeys in the concept of money. So they trained these monkeys to recognize that tokens could be exchanged for food. And it went incredibly well. Pretty soon the monkeys began to respond to price signals, and if they could buy more of one type of food than another, that's how they would choose to use their tokens. The trouble is other types of behavior also started to emerge. One monkey strayed into crime and ran off with a full tray of tokens. Another was seen paying another monkey for sex. So pretty soon you can see that money has destructive effects, and not just on monkeys, but also on humans. I had the privileged position of being the Economist banking correspondent and then finance editor for 6 years during all of the crisis and its aftermath. By the time I left that job, you might have thought that I would despair of finance and think nothing but bad of it. In fact, I think the narrative after the crisis is far too one-sided. Yes, finance has to be watched very closely, but the places that need to be watched are not perhaps the ones that we worry about much. And yes, financial innovation can have very bad outcomes, but it can also solve some of the major flaws of finance itself. Broadly speaking, the public purse is under pressure in two ways. One is limited amounts of money, we've got to spend less. The second is we have to spend it more efficiently. And one answer to that is the social impact bond. The social impact bond was pioneered here in Britain in 2010 in Peterborough Prison. And the idea is that it brings in private capital. If that private capital funds a social program, which lasts for a longer period than a government program normally does, the savings that it realizes, if the program is successful, are material to the public purse, and those savings can then pay back the original investors. We haven't yet had the final results, we've had interim results, but relative to a control group at the national level, this social impact bond has delivered much, much better performance and results. When I was finance editor, I saw two acts of a three-act drama: the crisis itself, the re-regulation of finance, and the third act is now underway, and that's the rise of alternative financial providers. It is possible to overhype these things too early. Nonetheless, I think these things have the potential to change finance for the better. The lending platforms do not completely deal with, but certainly address two big problems with finance, and that's leverage and maturity transformation. So these platforms basically say the default risk lies with the lenders. And similarly, if you put money into a platform, it stays there for the length of the loan that you're funding. Now, there are wrinkles around the edges here, but that's for the future. For now, I think they are actually a really sort of inherently designed to be good for financial stability. You have to watch finance, but my contention is that you don't have to be scared of financial ingenuity, that the creativity is something that we ought to encourage. It's as finance takes good ideas and turns them into things which are more destructive that you have to worry. So established markets, particularly property, are the things that I worry about more, and that's where I think regulators ought to be focusing their attention.
What do you think will happen to remuneration structures and remuneration levels at places like Goldman Sachs and the hedge funds?
They will go down, but not as much as people want. So higher capital requirements is a really good way of reducing profitability and therefore pay, basically. So you will see lower pay, but it's still going to be disproportionately high in the public mind, and efforts to legislate caps on bonuses, etc. we're seeing this already. They just do not work. So fixed pay will will basically rise, or some version of a bonus which is pretending to be fixed pay will come up in its place. Or you can start to play around with benefits, I mean, which they haven't started to do yet, but you know, a pension is just about the most valuable part of your pay packet, and the banks haven't even started to play with that yet. So to me, it's just a battle which, you know, in public, the public will never feel like it's won, and the regulators, in trying to wage it, only have bad consequences.
Some of the most interesting things we heard today were about examples of financial innovation for good, like social impact bonds or prize-linked savings accounts that could use some of the ideas of financial innovation but get them working for social good rather than for the good of bankers and financiers. We also heard about the huge and rapid growth of alternative finance, offering alternatives to traditional banks and ways for innovative entrepreneurial businesses to get to scale quickly.